What is author marketing mastery through optimization, you ask? I'm going to tell you. It's the best way for us authors to make a living selling our books. Are you tired of hearing gurus tell you your book is only good enough to be a lead magnet for services? Are you tired of feeling like you have to be a slave to social media and then frustrated when that time doesn't actually help you sell books? I was too, until I found Ammo. Ammo is the only program that reliably produces results, and it works for anyone. Is it hard work? You bet. Do you have to overcome some of your own prejudices to make Ammo work for you? Absolutely. But rather than being another program that rah-rah shish-goom-bahs tries to get you emotionally excited only to offer unclear methods, Ammo shows you how to design profitable ads step by step through a unique, never-before-tested formula. The founder, Steve Piper, is a data-loving, formula-driven author who escaped the kingdom of Amazon to build a platform for himself where he sold directly to his readers and built a loyal following. With Ammo, you know who's reading your books, how to contact them, and what they want to read next. If you've always been frustrated with Amazon's wall of mystery, of not knowing who's reading your books, of losing 50 to 70% of the hard-earned money you make through book sales, Ammo solves all of those problems by putting you in the driver's seat and showing you how to fulfill your books directly to your readerships. Click the link in the show notes to learn more. My guest on today's episode is Michael Lindley. He is the author of the Hannah and Alex mystery series, and his work inside of Ammo has enabled him to make ludicrous amounts of money. And I don't mind saying that because that's what we're here to do, is delight readers and get more of them. And when that happens, the money follows. So really excited to share this conversation with you. I had mentioned last week that I am about to get you a special Monday episode to update you on some library affairs. I also just finished Writers at the Mill, which was a farmer's market activity that was set up by my friend and fellow author, Margie Lucas. I've spoken about her before. I'm going to go ahead and link her books in this episode if you want to check her out. It was a fun, semi-successful public signing event. So I sold a grand total of 8 paperback books. You might not think that that's a ton, and you'd be right. In fact, you're going to hear a really fun anecdote toward the end of this episode with Michael about the downsides of public events. But you know what? I was pretty happy with the outcome. I enjoyed spending some time with some local authors, and I look forward to doing similar things again. It trumped my experience at the coffee shop, which was the last time that Margie and I did a local signing event together, but it didn't quite rise to my experience at Block 16. So thanks to Block 16. Beautiful restaurant. If you're ever in Omaha, you absolutely must go. Alton Brown calls it the best burger in Nebraska. Hands down, it's the best burger in Nebraska, and it's the best everything else in Nebraska as well. It's a great restaurant run with love, and they even love authors who come to them to partner for local events. Without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Michael Lindley.
This is TRBM Ammo Edition. If you're a published author and want to make a living writing books and selling them to avid readers, you've come to the right place. There's simply no program that's more successful at driving readers towards the books you've written. So the only thing you have to worry about is writing a great book. And the system within Ammo takes care of the rest. Thanks for listening to this conversation.
Your books do pretty much all the speaking for you. There's not a ton of social media presence or anything like that. You're available on all the platforms, but my guess is that you have leaned pretty heavily into advertising in different ways to get your books in front of people, and I love that. because it counters the popular notion right now that in order to make a decent money on your books and reach a large audience, you have to be a slave to Twitter and TikTok and all of those different platforms.
Right.
So do you see it that way? Do you lean heavily into advertising, or are there things that I missed in my looking into your writing career?
No, I've been very focused the last 3 years actually on Facebook advertising to drive traffic initially to Amazon and all of my books on Amazon. And I was in Kindle Unlimited, so I was exclusive to Amazon. And but more recently, I've switched over to driving my Facebook ad traffic every day to my own Shopify store. And tremendous advantages to that is if you're involved in the AMO program, you're familiar with that. I believe you're involved in the AMO program.
Yeah. So this is officially, unofficially the AMO podcast, actually. And so Steve and I had a conversation on the side. I had a large audience listening into my marketing journey for my books along the way. And when I found AMO, it was so much different than anything else I'd ever seen. And I'm not ashamed to say I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on other programs to try to get this to work. And Steve was the first time that it did work. And I guess, here I'm plugging the program for you, and you're going to plug the program as well. But what was really startling was how little it cost to actually join AMO. Now, it's expensive to advertise. Nobody's going to lie about that. But the program that Steve put together is A, more comprehensive, B, more structured and instructional, and C, cheaper than anything else you're finding out there. It was crazy. So yes, I love AMO. Continue.
So I joined the group back in early 2021 and implemented the program at that time, giving away the first book in my series. I have 8 books in my latest series, and I was giving away the first book and then upselling my other novels beyond that. And it was profitable for a few months, and then it started kind of tail off. And as I mentioned, I was driving traffic to Amazon because all of my books were exclusive. And as you know, that requires running traffic campaigns versus purchase campaigns on Facebook, where the algorithm doesn't get the purchase information that they really need to for my Facebook advertising to be more effective. I don't get the customer information. I have to pay Jeff Bezos 30% on every book that I sell, and he doesn't pay me for 60 days. So there are some limitations to that approach. The good news was I was had a lot of page reads on Kindle Unlimited. I was doing over 100,000, over 100,000 page reads a day, and that was fairly lucrative. But again, it started to fall off. So I went through a number of different approaches to marketing. I mean, I've been selling my books for 20 years, so it's really only the last 3 years that I've been working with the AMO program. But just this past spring, I decided to reload my program on a new Shopify store, set up my Facebook advertising as purchase campaigns to drive all my traffic to my own store, change the product offering, change the pitch, and it was immediately profitable. And I've scaled it up pretty significantly in just 5-6 months that I've been doing it. Very excited about it.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I am in the boat still where I'm trying to figure out how to do it well. I've been profitable for stretches and then not profitable for stretches. I think on the whole, at this point, I've lost money so far. It's pretty difficult, I think, to find all of the different moving components, even with the training in the program. How do you size your audience? What's the right ad spend? How long do you run an ad? If you see fatigue, do you turn it off right away? Do you let it kind of like go through cycles? And I think all of us have some different experiences. What has been the most effective thing for you? Are you a patient person where you see things maybe trending the wrong way and say, hey, maybe it's a moment? Or are you a responsive person where the moment you see the results kind of going off track, you adjust?
Yeah, I actually monitor things every day, but I try to be patient and let the system run as it's supposed to. So as an example, I kicked this latest program off in April.
Mhm.
And I had just one US campaign. I had 4 or 5 audiences and ad sets testing creative that I've used for years. So I had tested creative. I knew what was resonating with my audience, but I had different audience ad sets to really determine where the sweet spot was. And very quickly, I saw that very broad target audience was very effective. And I had one other ad set that was targeting my genres, kind of stacked interests to my genres. And those two were performing very well. I continue to run those today. I had 3 or 4 other ad sets that were retargeting, look-alike, other interest audiences, and all of those were much more expensive from an acquisition cost standpoint.
Yeah.
And I fairly, within a month or so, turned those off. So literally since April, I've been running one campaign, 2 ad sets, one ad in each ad set. I have not changed the ad.
Wow.
And it continues to get better. The algorithm is continuing to get smarter. There's thousands of purchases now, so they really know who my audience is, and they're delivering that message every day to new people and retargeting people that have shown some interest. I think their retargeting is probably better than mine was, why I turned it off.
Right.
It was funny. I was just on the coaching call with Steve the other day, and we looked at my Facebook platform, and he was kind of surprised as well that I hadn't touched anything for 4 or 5 months, and that it was continuing. The acquisition cost was continuing to go down, which is a good thing. And the cost per thousand was going down. The conversion rates were improving. So it's really a testament to letting the Facebook algorithm do its work. Yeah. And, knock on wood, it could all crash tomorrow. Sure. But it's been pretty consistent.
Yeah. There's a couple cool things about what you're talking about is that with each acquisition that you get, each new reader that you bring in the door through this system, you now have their email, which means anytime that you release a new book now, you can let them know. And your purchase numbers are going to be a lot better even than Facebook in terms of the people who are going to be excited to read the next book from you. So you're collaborating with Facebook and building a loyal audience for your future books, which is kind of recession proofing you in a lot of ways. What you were doing before with Amazon, it's really cool. 100,000 page reads a day is absurd. I actually can't even think in numbers that big quite yet. But all those people came and went, and you knew nothing about them. You never learned anything about who they were. They may still be around. They may not be on your email list, or maybe now they've jumped over on your email list. We don't know. I guess one of my questions, because you've been in the program for several years, probably on and off calls a little bit, what have you seen as a pattern for people coming into the program where, there's a lot of frustration versus the people who succeed? Are there any things that just leap off the top of your mind that you're like, when I see people behave in this way, they prime themselves for success?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is, I think there's 2 different approaches, as you know. One is to offer a free book to get someone's email, and then there's a jump page that cross-sells additional novels, and that's where I started, and it several years ago. And it was effective to a point, and then it fell off very quickly. And what I found was, at least for my books and the way I had it packaged, people were content to get the free book, read it, and then maybe decide if they wanted to order more books. So I was getting very low conversion of that first doorbuster purchase, as we call it. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're fine.
So the second time around, and I see that in the coaching calls that I sit in on, a lot of people are taking that approach. I'll give away my first book, and then I'll upsell 4 or 5 or 6 novels right away. And the conversion is tough to make profitable. The other approach is the direct sales platform, which you've been hearing a lot more about, where you do your Facebook advertising goes to a sales page on Unbounce, where you have the offer. And in my case, it's for both an ebook package and a paperback package of 4 ebooks plus a free novella that introduces a series for $14.99 is the offer.
Okay.
or 3 paperbacks for $29.99. And if the customer clicks that link, they go directly to a checkout page.
Yeah.
And it loads, the discount is automatically loaded. They just have to put in their payment information, you have a sale. And the conversion rate is significantly higher. I'm up around 25% a day of people who click my Unbounce page, go to my checkout page, about 25% will convert. And interestingly, about 20 to 25% will also take a checkout upsell, which is the second 4 books in my series for another $14. So that has really helped profitability. So as I listen to the coaching calls, a lot of the people that are trying to do the free book giveaway, while you get a lot better response up front and you get a lot of people on your email list, many don't go on to purchase.
Yeah.
And we call them freebie seekers. They may not really be ideal prospects for long-term customer relationship and purchasing your subsequent books versus this direct sales platform,
right,
which is really streamlined. It's just a few clicks and they own the books. And I found that to work much better.
Yeah. I've had several people in your position who are very successful with the program on the podcast. One thing I haven't talked enough about, and if there's not a lot here, we can move quickly through it. But one of the things I am curious about is with your email list, how assertive are you about emailing people? Are you emailing your list multiple times a week, every other week? What's your rhythm? And can you give me kind of a skeleton of the types of emails that you send out?
Sure. So I have a welcome sequence for every new reader. So when they order my ebooks or my paperbacks, they go into we use Klaviyo mail system, as you know.
Yeah.
They go into my welcome flow, so to speak, one for paperbacks and one for ebooks. And they receive an immediate thank you and the links to download their books if they're ebooks. Actually, the paperback readers get the free novella as an ebook as well in that first thank you email. And it just kind of lets them know how the process is going to work, how their books can be downloaded, or when their books will arrive if they order paperbacks, and thanking them for their interest in my stories. And by the way, you've only ordered the first 4. If you want to take advantage of this special offer to buy the rest of the series today, it's just another $14.99, and we do get pretty good uptick on that.
That's fantastic.
So that welcome sequence is day 1, and then day 3, there's another email that goes out. Just want to make sure you got your books, reminder what the stories are about to encourage them to start reading. So, a lot of people have books on their nightstand stacked up, waiting to read. So you really want to encourage people to get started reading. So that's the second email. I think another week later, they get another email in that flow that talks more about the stories, encourages them to read. There's an opportunity to purchase other books in the series, et cetera. And I think the next is about 30 days out, and you assume they're pretty well into the series by then.
Yeah.
And I have another series of books, earlier series of books that I cross-sell to them, and they start to see some uptick on that. So those are the welcome flows.
Yeah.
I also use all the Klaviyo suggested flows like abandoned cart and browse, abandoned browse, and 1-year anniversary. There's a ton of those flows that are built in. So those are kind of the automated emails, but then I have a newsletter that I call behind the scenes, and I send it out periodically. There's no set schedule. Typically it's about once a month.
Okay.
It will have an update on where the next book is. And like I'm launching a new book next month in my Hannah and Alex series. So I just revealed the cover and the title this week in my newsletter. And of course, encourage people, if they haven't gotten through books 1 through 8, here's, a special offer to get caught up before the new book comes out.
Yeah.
But I also use that newsletter just to provide some insight, and I call it the writing life. So I'll talk about the writing process, or if I've traveled to a location to do some research for a book, I'll talk about that. So it's just an opportunity to kind of build the brand around what I write, why I write it, the locations I write about, that sort of thing. But of course, there's always an opportunity to further the customer relationship with the next book sale and
Yeah.
so forth.
What I really love about what you just said is that in the very beginning of this podcast, I'd mentioned that there's not a whole ton of stuff on social media that's like brand building for you. And it's so smart the way that you're doing it, because you're building your brand with the people who have bought your books. So those are the people who are going to get to know you and know you better. You're not wasting a bunch of time on people that you don't even know, what their commitment to you is. I really like it. You've started the relationship off with them committing to read your books, and then you're giving yourself to those people who are reading your books and enhancing that experience. So for anybody listening, probably consider that. Actually, scaling back from social media might not be the worst idea ever. I'm sure it's working for a lot of people, but when I see the numbers on ammo, I'm blown away. And you're somebody who has it really dialed in and working. Let's lighten it up a bit. I want to ask, what got you into writing? Why did you start? Is your whole mission to entertain, or do you like to deliver any kind of messages through your books? How layered are they? How much do you think about fast-paced action? I know I'm throwing a bunch of questions at you, but just trying to kind of prime that pump to think about that process a little bit.
Yeah, well, I started writing back in college, and as many things when you're younger, you don't always get things completed. And I had several novels I started back in school that never got past 20 or 30 pages. And there's something about turning 50, which was for me about 20 years ago, actually. Wow. You look at your bucket list items and say, I better start checking some of these off. And one had always been to finish my first novel. So that was in 2005. And I went back and picked up a book I'd started in college, and took 5 more years actually to finish it. I tried for years to get an agent and went through that rat race, and eventually published independently, which was a great decision in hindsight. And it kind of launched my writing career. I now have 3 books in that early series and 8 books in my current series, with a 9th coming out next month. And you ask about the type of story. So they're mystery and suspense novels. This most recent series, they're about an attorney, Hannah Walsh, and a Charleston cop, Alex Frank, who fight crime and corruption in the low country of South Carolina, down in Charleston and along the Atlantic coast there. And of course, they come to have a romantic relationship. So it's about their story as well as the mystery of whatever crime they're involved in. And I've always liked to tell stories that are kind of surprising, twists and turns. Certainly surprise endings, characters that you are really kind of deeply developed, so people come to connect with them, particularly when you're writing in a series. You want likable characters that people look forward to reading about again and again and again. Yeah, which is happening with Hannah and Alex now. And I also like to write about interesting places and really go into a lot of detail about the settings of my books, and really kind of helps flesh out the story and gives it more context when you can pick the low country is really conducive to that. And so it's been fun to write. These 2 characters have survived death dozens of times, so it begins to become more challenging. How are they going to survive this next one? So, but people enjoy that, and it's
absolutely
not necessarily realistic, but it's fun. And, and my books are also, I would call them PG-13. Okay. Not graphic violence or intimate sex scenes. I try to keep it. When I started writing, I wanted my teenage kids to be able to read my books, and wanted my mother to be able to read my books. So she was actually one of my editors early on. Awesome. She was a writer. So the books that appeal to primarily women. My audience tends to be women 55 and older who read a lot, which is not, that's pretty typical for independent authors to find their audience there. Men do read my book. I don't target them specifically in my marketing because it's much more effective kind of going after this reader audience that loves to binge read 8, 10, 20 novels in a series.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting question. One that I've been asking myself as I'm going through the ammo process is maybe my stubbornness. In fact, I can guarantee my stubbornness has hindered my success. My novel is a mystery like yours, but rated R and pretty. I mean, it's quite graphic actually. Some people have noticed that and said, I wish I was a little more prepared, and so I work on that messaging a little bit too. The reason I say that,
what
though,
to expect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I want to know. Like, my audience is still out there. There are people reading my work and interested in it, but I've gotten a little off track. So basically what I'm saying, though, is I decided to take this book, and I knew that there was serious potential in it, but I also liked the ending of the first book. It was left open to the reader's interpretation, kind of like that movie Shane, if you ever saw that, where is he alive or dead? You're not really sure. It's kind of one of those. It's conclusive, but the reader gets to decide how things go from here. And I liked that. When I turned it into a series, that was the first compromise that I made to say, okay, ammo works really well with series, so I will write a series, but I want to write it this certain way. And I found along the way that I have a bit of, I know this will sound highfalutin, I don't mean it that way, but I have an artistic vision for what I want to do here. And so I've started to think, I'm using every tool that ammo has and all of the principles it has to build a slightly different funnel. And I think I'm going to lose more money along the way to figure out how to reach my audience and speak to those people. But I guess in me telling you all about that, I'm also asking, are there points for you where you write into your audience because you want to continue to satisfy them? Or are there ever points where you think, wow, this might stretch them, but it's something I'm really convinced I want to do in this book?
Yeah, you run a kind of a narrow line of writing to market, which is profitable, and and not sacrificing your creative inspiration. And I try to balance that. People have after they've read a couple of whoever's books, they have an expectation. You can't steer too far from that. They go, what happened to Hannah? I thought she was this kind of a person,
Right.
And, so that's, it's a bit of a limitation, but I think you have to kind of come to love your characters and love creating new scenarios to challenge them. And that's fine. I do some other writing that allows me to kind of go in different directions. I have a standalone novel I wrote a few years back that I think was probably my best book. I don't market it actively yet because it's a standalone and it's kind of hard to get that to be profitable.
Yes.
But it's when I want to step away and do something different, I have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And who knows how long Hannah and Alex will survive. I'm trying to do 2 per year right now, which is a good cadence for me.
Yes.
And we'll see. I may come up with a new idea tomorrow and start off in a whole nother direction. Yeah.
Have you read James Lee Burke by any chance?
My favorite author. Yeah. David Robichaud is probably the greatest character. And again, an author that likes to really bring the setting into the story better than anybody I've ever seen. Practically.
Yeah. I just recommended to my friend Heather the book, the Neon Rain. It's got, I have a hard time saying a top 5. It returns to me constantly. The plot of that book, how Dave starts out, who he is. I was thinking constantly when you were talking about how many creative ways can these people almost die, the Bobbsey twins. I mean, there's just no more fun than watching all of the different things they get in. And to me, Cletus Purcell is one of the more memorable characters ever created. So I love it. Would you consider those maybe a little closer to rated R? He does have some kind of more graphic sex scenes and kind of language, a little bit of graphic violence occasionally. I don't know where I'd place them. That's what are your thoughts in terms of?
They're a bit further down that road, not excessive, I don't think. No. And there would be members of my reader group who would not want to go that far. Yeah, probably. Although, I only get, I get hundreds, if not thousands of messages. And once in a while, I'll get someone saying, is there foul language? Is there whatever? And they're concerned about that. But it's relatively very little of that. So I may be surprised that my audience would be more tolerant than I think. I'm sure it's a range of of reactions. But
Hmm.
but no, I love James Lee Burke. I
Yeah.
hope he keeps writing. I've read all the books. I've
Yeah.
listened to most of them as audiobooks because he has a
Yes.
Will
Will Patton.
Will Patton
Will
is
Patton is
unbelievable.
the
Yeah,
best audiobook narrator that has ever lived.
yeah.
Now, the second best is X.E. Sands. She reads my books. I love her. So,
What's her name?
X.E. Sands. If you
Okay.
ever need a female narrator, she is phenomenal to work with. In fact, I'll send you a copy of my
Yeah,
audiobook for
yeah.
reference. Um,
I'm working with, I got picked up by an audio publisher a few years ago, and they're doing all of the Hannah and Alex books. And together we selected Emily Sutton Smith, who does a lot of high profile authors books, and
yeah,
I really like what she's done with them. So
yeah.
um, we'll probably keep that going.
Yeah, there's another book, and this is now we're just talking, and people are listening to us
Yeah,
having a conversation. But there's a book by an author named Dennis Johnson. If you've run into him, he's literary kind of university. He wrote a short novella called Train Dreams, and it is again another one of those top 5 kind of books for me. Just always returns to me. Will Patton narrates it, and there's this memorable scene where the main character comes across kind of a bum who's on his like deathbed more or less, and he asks for a drink of water out of a boot. He's got a boot, and so the narrator takes down, fills up the boot, and gives him a drink of water out of the boot. And the way that Patton narrates it is just phenomenal. It's beautiful. I love it so much. So that's going
no, he's
nowhere,
great.
but yeah, he's really good.
I guess my other inclination would be to write spy thrillers, and I actually
Yeah,
have one started. I love Daniel Silva
yeah,
and his Gabriel Allon series. I think it's one of the better writers in that genre. And
yeah,
it's tempting to go down that path. Whether or not my current readers would get
yeah.
excited about that or not, I don't know yet. We have to test that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I hope you take the risk. I think it sounds fun. I've enjoyed this part of the conversation, just taking a little bit of a rabbit trail. What would you say to the person right now who's listening and thinking, wow, I really want to make a living on my books. I've got a little series going, and money's tight. Is ammo a good thing to do, or what would be some prep type of things that someone might want to do to get themselves ready?
Yeah, I would encourage people to take a very close look at it because it is such a focused program with a platform that you could never figure out on your own
Yeah.
in terms of identifying prospects, selling through, fulfilling, following up. It's an incredible platform that, again, you probably know how to use all the tools independently, but syncing them all up so that it's a seamless funnel that end to end that works is incredible. And the investment, I think, is well worth it. Actually, in the early days of ammo, it was much more expensive.
Yeah.
So there's a kind of a different version available now. So I invested quite a bit, and I invested a lot in the early testing to make sure I was doing it correct. Fortunately, I was able to get profitable very quickly.
Yeah.
But I think for new people considering the program, if you think about all the time and energy and money you've spent on BookBub ads and Amazon ads and all the time that goes into social media that is such a time churn and has limited impact, frankly, and all the other advertising, the book newsletters that you can give your book away for free, and you can do a lot of that and find limited returns, frankly, in your time and your investment. And I talked to a lot of the authors in AMO before I committed and tried to understand how they were using the program, how they were packaging their books, and that was very helpful. So once you get involved, you have access to the other members of the program who are very open and what's working, what's not working. The coaching calls every week are incredible.
Yeah.
When you get to profitability on a consistent basis, you're invited to sit on the scale call once a week, which are the more established participants. And we talk more about what's coming and not as much about why isn't my landing page converting at 20 versus 21% or whatever. And so it's a great consulting group to be involved in every week. And they're very open to sharing their programs and many of them are doing very, very well. I just got an email. I guess I won't use her name, but she's a member of the program.
Mm-hmm.
She has her own. I've been following her actually. Her book marketing platform is quite strong as well. And she coaches on Facebook advertising, Amazon advertising, email, a whole range of book marketing. But she became an AMO author a year or so ago, and she just had a $100,000 month. She was $40,000 on Amazon and over $60,000 in her own Shopify store, driven by her AMO program. So wow. That's crazy. That's and I've seen a couple of the other authors I think you've spoken to who have had periods of time where they've been doing that kind of buying. Another interesting thing when you get into this, which I guess I knew was going to happen, but you drive your traffic to your Shopify store, and that can be profitable on its own. But I let my Amazon advertising fall off, all of my Amazon marketing fall off when I was getting ready to relaunch this last spring, and it falls off very quickly. My Amazon sales. So I had kind of a base level of almost nothing in Amazon sales. Very, very quickly when I relaunched the Shopify program, my Amazon sales began increasing in sync with that. And it's a significant part of the profitability now. I'm not in KU anymore, so this is all ebook sales and paperback sales and audio sales. But so each day I track my own Shopify store and my AMO sales and look at profitability of both. And Amazon's really encouraging. Once you get back to level on Amazon where you're ranking high in certain genres, they'll start supporting the book. My books are number one in a couple of genres now, and I'm not even marketing to Amazon, but I can see days where they're obviously sending emails out about my book because there's huge spikes. And I haven't done anything.
And they're making money on you, so it's in their best interest to give you free ad dollars. I've heard that from a few people. I've never gotten to the point where I'm spending enough in daily ad dollars that I've seen that cross-channel sales bump, which is something I definitely look forward to. Like I said, I've been stubborn, and so I probably have not read the science as well as I should. It does remind me, though, one of my continuing questions is the book covers I have are representative of Raymond Chandler and some of those early hard-boiled detectives, because that's very much in line with the tone and style of my book. I love them. I get a lot of feedback from readers and people who have actually bought and read the books that they love the covers. But I also have gotten some feedback from people who are very successful doing what we're doing here in AMO, who say you might want to consider changing your covers. Your covers are incredibly consistent, and they are dialed in such a way that I feel like you've done a lot of thinking about making covers. One, who designs your covers? And two, what would you say to people? Have you ever experienced a book not taking off and altering a cover and seeing it do better? Or what's your experience there?
Yeah, going back over the years, I used to hire book designers for the first series that I was doing, and then even this Hannah and Alex series. And I honestly never was happy. They really look kind of formulaic and stock, so to speak. And I just couldn't find a designer that I was happy with. So I started doing it myself. The early covers were not very good at all. And quite honestly, they've gone through 20 iterations to get where they are today. And I do try to build that consistent look. I've patterned them after other authors that have been successful in this genre with series. So they're not a direct takeoff on anybody, but they have elements of imagery and typeface and colors and such that are consistent with authors that I know are doing really, really well, particularly on Amazon, where a small thumbnail image, has to sell your book.
Right.
And even in our marketing and our Facebook ads, on our landing pages, the covers are typically quite small because you're many times showing a bundle of books, and to get them all on the page, they have to be fairly small. So they have to work in that thumbnail size, very quickly communicate what the genre is, kind of the sense of the story. And for readers who get into the series, I think they like the continuity of the look and feel of the books as well. So that's kind of how it got to where So I use Canva. I do all of my covers there. I do all the versions. Actually, I send that cover out off to my audiobook publisher, and they have somebody that converts it for the audiobooks. I don't do those.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But for paperbacks and ebooks, I do them all.
That's cool. That's encouraging to know. I stood for a very long time in this podcast telling people pay someone to do your cover because professional cover design is your first impressions. I continue to get feedback that that's not the case, that very well-selling authors are designing their own covers. And so that's a balm to me, but it also means, again, pay attention to the feedback. If a book isn't selling, maybe something needs to change with the cover. I'm trying to think.
I've actually seen that, particularly, and it's so easy to change, frankly. So I found that imagery on the covers is so important, and I've put out a couple of new covers in the last couple of years that, for whatever reason, weren't selling, weren't converting at checkout page, and I changed them, until I got back to a level that I was happy with. So that's the good thing about it. On Canva, you can change a cover in 10 minutes.
Yes.
Go to the Amazon Kindle Direct platform, reload it in 10 minutes.
Yep.
Order new paperbacks, and you're good to go. So
yeah. We're bumping up against 45 minutes. I've got longer if you do, but I do want to make sure I ask the important question here that we've kind of hovered around and never gotten into. When it comes to paperbacks, are you fulfilling them yourself, or do you have a partnership with a distributor that distributes them for you when they're ordered?
Yeah, we're doing it ourselves. I say we. My wife is my chief financial officer and my chief shipping officer. So every morning we go through the orders. We print out the paperback orders. I sell a bundle of 3 books, and so we package those. I also sell a signed paperback, signed first. The first book in the series. I sell a signed copy as an upsell, but also as an individual item. We sell quite a few of those. So we'll package those up as well. So it's really not that difficult. I order my books for Amazon author copies. I've gotten quotes from a number of printers, and Amazon has still been the cheapest, the best price and a good quality book as well. And then we package them. We use Shipping Easy, which is the shipping platform to produce labels, pay for media mail postage. We slap the label on the envelope, put the books in. I have a personalized note that I sign to every reader that goes out in the books. That gives an opportunity to, again, build a relationship. Has a little link on the bottom where they can buy more books, of course.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a hassle. Every day you have to run to the post office, drop off boxes of books, but it's a good problem to have. And you control the process. I'm hearing a lot of authors the last few weeks talking about Book Vault coming to the U.S. as a viable option that I'm going to look into. I guess they've been pretty successful in UK, and I think a number of us are kind of kicking the tires to see if Book Vault would make sense.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Facebook group for this. A few people have said they've gotten quotes or looked at pricing, and that were discouraged by the pricing on Book Vault. I haven't looked into it, so it's something I need to for my to-do list. I do like Amazon. I was just talking with my friend Rich yesterday about a number of different things, and he and I have both had this experience where you order a box of books from Amazon, the author copies, and the only downside is I have noticed I get a high number of damages that come from their shipping, and I'm not sure if there's some insider baseball on the amount of books that you should order to get the best boxes, because sometimes you'll get those boxes that are shipped to you and they're the Team Lift boxes. I think you've probably seen them before, and it's like a guarantee when I get a Team Lift box, I'm going to have damaged books in there, and it frustrates me. It's a big waste of time to get the refund. I've never had them deny me, but
Yeah, I've been lucky, I guess, because in the last 6 months, we've had 3 books damaged, the thousands that we've ordered. Wow. So we've been really lucky. And I noticed they were sending those huge boxes, which are impossible to lift. And I'm sure get dropped. And recently, our last order, they came in with a much smaller, like half-size boxes.
Okay.
with only 30 or 40 books in them. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And much easier to handle. And I think probably less prone to
Yeah.
being dropped and damaged. So I've been very happy with Amazon so far. And the
Yeah.
pricing is very competitive.
Yeah, I do. I'm happy about the pricing. Do you do hardbacks at all, or have you stayed with paperbacks?
Just the first book of my series is available with hardcover on Amazon. And I actually do get a few orders a week for that, but they're
Nice.
distributed by Amazon.
Yeah.
I don't offer them on my website, on
Yeah.
my own website. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bucket list thing for me, is that when I feel like I've really established myself to have like FSG grade hardbacks. I personally read more hardcovers than anything else. I really like the feel of a hardcover in my hands compared to a paperback. I don't like the cover to be flexible. I'm not sure why. It's just an aesthetic thing for me.
Yeah.
So I'd like to one day have the dust jacket and kind of the whole feel of that book, but that's kind of down the line, I think, for me. So
just have one commemorative copy, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I do think of these things too. When you have printing mistakes or your cover doesn't come out, the colors are a little bit wrong, you order your author copies. I'm always intrepid in ordering without checking to make sure everything is right. I don't order a ton the first time around, but if a new book's coming out, I'll get a case of them. And sometimes there are printing issues, and I say, this is a limited first edition, first printing, and try to build the value up around it. So,
sure. The other thing I would say that people should be prepared for is that if they go into the program is you do, quote, own the customer. You you become very personally connected. They have your email, you have theirs. Excuse me. And as a result, you get a lot of customer service kinds of, I call them opportunities.
Yeah.
And so every morning I'm spending an hour, sometimes 2 hours in customer service issues, whether it's, I thought I ordered paperbacks. Okay. And I really want, I don't want ebooks. So that's a continuing issue that we deal with every day. Or I want to order more books. I don't know where to go, or there's a thousand things. Yeah. And it can be tedious after a while. Yes. And yet I look at it again as an opportunity. I don't think many readers get personal emails from the authors that they read. I know James Lee Burke has never sent me an email. It'd be cool.
That's right.
But he hasn't.
I know.
He doesn't do that. His publishers handle all of those issues for him.
Yes.
So it's a blessing and a curse. It's great that you know who your customers are. You continue to communicate with them, but they're going to reach out as well, and you have to deal with their issues. And I find it when you're very responsive, and I monitor email every day. I monitor Facebook and Instagram where my ads are running. I get a lot of comments there. Hey, I didn't get my books, and they'll put that on Facebook, and I have to deal with that right away because I don't want people to think there's something inappropriate going on, that it's a scam or something.
Right.
I say, oh, by the way, Dolores, actually your books were sent to you in an email on August 23rd, and I just had Book Funnel resend them today. Yeah. Look for them in the e-box and in your email. And so I spend quite a bit of time on it, and you just have to work that into your schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think. There was somebody who just commented on one of my ads. I'm just getting inundated with all of these authors saying they're going to sell their books direct, and just list your books on Amazon for goodness sakes. I'm not giving into these scams. And I replied back and I said, my books are all listed on Amazon. They're just about 3 times as expensive because I have to give away 70% of my earnings to Jeff Bezos if you buy them from Amazon. So I need to make a living. And I went through that explanation and basically said, you can support me and buy directly from the store, or you can support Jeff Bezos and I'll get a little bit of the cut. And then, just thinking about the reality that there are still people who are very dialed into thinking like any ad on Facebook could be a scam. It's strange, but I think the tides are shifting. We're seeing a lot more people sell direct in this manner. I think that's basically it as far as like process questions for you go. I was curious, do you do public events at all? Do you ever get out in the community? Is that more of a local thing or not lucrative enough to dedicate the time to?
I early on in my writing career, I did a lot of that. and I was
Yeah.
trying to sell into bookstores in Michigan. So I was actually traveling bookstore, pitching my
Yeah.
books,
Yeah.
trying to get them to stock them, and many did. But what I found, and I was doing book signing events,
Yep.
and you feel good about it, but then you sit there for 2 hours and you talk to two people and you
Yes.
sell one book
Yeah.
and you think, boy, this was really not very
Yeah.
productive. And once I drove 3 hours to a book signing at a Barnes and Noble, and I set up ready to go at 10 o'clock. And there was a bunch of people waiting outside the door. I thought, wow, this is
Yeah,
great.
this is going to be
The marketing
awesome.
worked. All these people are here to see me. And they open the doors, and all these people come rushing in, and they go right to the front desk. And it was the day of the release of the next Harry Potter book.
Oh.
And they were all there to get their next Harry Potter book.
Wow.
I don't think I talked to two people all day.
Oh.
And I had to drive 3 hours home, and I got a speeding ticket. So that might have been the last one I did.
Oh, that's really something.
The other thing, I used to do a lot of women's book groups. I would offer to attend in person. This was years ago, before Zoom was really a thing.
Yeah.
And again, it was fun, and I sold 8 or 10 books to that group of women, and they probably bought a few more of my books. But you just can't scale that. I've actually offered. I had a woman buy my books the other day. I'm sorry, my phone keeps ringing so much.
You're a popular guy. It's all right.
I just recently offered. I had a woman buy the books and said, I'm going to recommend the books to my reading group. And I just, in a weak moment, I said, well, I occasionally do Zoom calls if you'd like me to call into your next book group. I haven't heard back from her yet, but a lot of our authors in Ammo have a live Facebook group, and they communicate with their subscribers, and seem to think that that's a productive program. I haven't really looked into that yet.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the more that I've been doing all of this, the more I want to move away from as much social media commitment as possible, because I really don't see the turnaround. What I will say, for example, this podcast does not sell books for me. I don't sell my own books. People who appear on my podcast don't tend to sell books. I look at my download stats. I have plenty of people listening, but this is an author specific podcast. And so, you're not going to see that kind of movement there. And I realize, like, everywhere I go, my organic posts are not sales assets. And if I can stop thinking of them that way, I think it really will benefit me, and use advertising to build. And then, like you have done so well, is once they're already in the family, so to speak, or one of the readers, then really build into those people. I think word of mouth can do something really great for you if you build loyal readers inside of your net, and they might actually start to promote you on their social media. Then you have a huge win, because you have people doing work for you happily.
Yeah, I do see that in the Facebook comments. Again, for the advertising that I'm running, I get all of the comments and the shares and the likes to look at, and I respond to those when they do comment. And I take the time to respond to everyone, even the negative. I'll occasionally get, well, I was really disappointed, and I'll send a nice note. I'll say, hey, not all books are for everybody, and I'm sorry you didn't enjoy the story. Here's some of my other books you might want to check out. Use that as an opportunity to not give up, but most of them are positive, and you respond to that. And I see lots of likes and shares where readers will recommend their friends buy the books as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Terrific.
So I will run links in the podcast, the show notes to your website. If you want me to include your doorbuster dealer here, you can. Like I said, I don't tend to move a lot of books through the podcast, but people will get excited about it. I think Jonathan Yanius and Jennifer had a decent little brief boost. They are very active on social media, so maybe they're the thorn in my side for this whole conversation. That can work as well. But let everybody else know where you want them to connect with you if they do want to learn more.
Yeah, I will send you the link to my Shopify store, but I'll send you the URL to that, which is where I drive all of my traffic, and that's where the not only the bundled offers are there, but also the individual pricing, discounting course in your store. So Shopify is a great platform. I used to use Samcart for checkout, and they have their benefits, but I found that Shopify has much better integration with Facebook, with the Klaviyo mail system, and been very happy with that.
I like Shopify as well. Very good. Thank you for your time today, Michael. Really appreciate you sharing with the listeners your experience of Ammo and just being an author and on the journey. So let's keep in touch.
Let's do that. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to TRBM. The theme music was provided by the ever-talented Christopher Talon. And hey, if you liked what you heard, share this show with other readers, because what's the point of telling stories if nobody's listening?